Hello and welcome to another episode of Entrepreneur TV. And today it is all about hospitality. We have got Nigel in from the Beacon Hotel. Hello, Nigel.
Hello there.
You have come some way.
All the way from Cornwall.
All the way from gorgeous Cornwall, St Agnes.
That's correct.
It is a gorgeous location. You couldn't have chosen better.
No, it's located right on St Agnes Beacon and on the north coast of Cornwall, literally a stone's throw away from the beach. So it's wonderful.
I mean, you couldn't get any better, could you really?
No, very fortunate, very fortunate.
Very fortunate. But it's actually been there for quite some time, hasn't it? Is it since the 1940s?
Yeah, 1939 it was originally built as a small bed and breakfast. It's always been a hotel or a bed and breakfast. It's expanded over the years and changed as people's tastes have changed. Originally, obviously, the hotel was very much just a lodgings. We've even got the original guest book from 1939
Really?
with the original guests signing. And they offered services like hot water, shoes cleaned, boots cleaned, and things like that. Obviously, we also have automatic hot water nowadays, but those were luxuries back in those days. But it's expanded and grown over the years. Now we offer 11 letting bedrooms. We have a self-catering apartment and we have 4 luxury shepherd huts, which are built on the ground as well.
I think that's what's lovely about it, isn't it? Because, you have made this business evolve. And, I was just having a look on your website and I love actually that you do put some of the historical photographs on there because it really does give your guests a sense of, where it's literally come from.
Yes, I mean, times change. People's expectations change in the hospitality industry. What doesn't change is the hospitality that we give our guests. It's important that we take care of them. We understand why they're down on holiday, so we can help them, guide them, and make sure that if they're only down for a couple of days, they get the most out of Cornwall. They get to enjoy it, so they want to come back again. But yes, years ago, as I said, everyone had shared bathrooms, whereas obviously times change now. So every room is an ensuite. Has ensuite facilities. Food changes, people's expectations of dining changes, so we source all our food locally.
Yes, I noticed that, and I think that's what's lovely is that you really do encompass the true word of hospitality because I travel a lot, I go to a lot of hotels and stay in a lot of places, and you sometimes wonder whether the owner is in love with the business as much as they should be.
That's it. I mean, don't get me wrong, working in hospitality is long.
Yeah.
But that's all around guest, sort of like making sure their guest experience is what they want. We work hard with that. We have a small team, a local team of staff who are loyal to us. And we get a lot of repeat business. A lot of guests come back year after year to spend some time with us. So we must be doing something right.
You definitely are, but I actually love all the different types of accommodation. You touched on it slightly earlier. But one of the things that really grabbed my attention was the shepherd's huts. Now, they're just not just any old shepherd's hut, because I've been and seen some, and they're almost like you can't swing a cat in. These are a bit like luxury shepherd's huts.
Yes, they are. We put them on the land a couple of years ago. We worked hard to make sure they fitted into the landscape and the environment that we're based in, because obviously being on St Agnes Beacon, we're a World Heritage Site. We're an area of outstanding natural beauty, so working with the developers we made sure they fitted in, but they are luxury. Yes, there's different types of shepherd huts that you can have. We've gone for the versions where there's fully centrally heated, Wi-Fi, TV, king size beds, ensuite showers, places to, but that's what guests are expecting nowadays, and when they come, they enjoy the stay, and it's like a luxurious hotel room, but having the advantage of self-catering and a different environment to stay in.
And I think that's lovely as well, because you do have your own self-catering apartment as well, which is nice for those people who probably don't want to get up for breakfast at a certain time, and they want that bit of, freedom.
Yes, it's a flexibility option for them. And it is different. You talked earlier on about changing habits, changing requirements. A lot of younger guests like to come and stay in the self-catering apartments. You know, so the demographic of the hotel guests changes over time. And so we are having to do things like this to attract a different demographic to the hotel. And it means that we are able to offer a service and a hotel or accommodation offering all year round, whereas the hotel can be more seasonal, being in Cornwall, whereas the shepherd huts are available all year round, and actually we get a lot of guests that like to come in the quieter winter months with the self-catering options to enjoy, you know, I say the more rugged coastline of Cornwall that time of year, which a lot of people enjoy.
Now, other things that I want to talk about is I believe your gardener is a bit of a legend by all accounts of what you've got these gorgeous grounds, and again the shepherd huts, you know, are in it, and he's a bit of a legend, isn't he?
He's been with us quite a long time as our gardener, and he still pops up. You know, we have a large amount of grounds. We've got over 2.5 acres. So
that's a lot.
Keeping on top of that is a job that we do. But yeah, we have not just the people that work within the hotel, but obviously we have the grounds team that work, and they keep the grounds, you know, looking pristine and natural within our environment. So and one of the challenges we always have with the gardener is to he always interacts well with the guests, likes chatting to them, especially guests that have come time and time again. So it's that's the familiarity a lot of our guests like. They come back and they see the same staff time and time again, which they enjoy, and it means that obviously the relationship that our staff build up year after year with the guests is important.
Now, I understand that you've got a family-run team. I'm going to give a shout out here to Jane, Sam and Alice, as well as other members of the team. So you are family.
We are family, and the hotel has always been sort of realistically over the past sort of like 30 years been more of a family environment with the owners that have owned it. We've taken it on over sort of like 6 years ago. My wife Jane, and then obviously got my son Samuel and my daughter Alice. Both of those go off to university but come back during the time off and contribute well to the hotel. And Alice makes her homemade fudge, which we give to our guests, which is a firm favourite as well.
Now, why didn't I get some, Alice? I would have loved some of that today.
It's a firm favourite, so we like that as well. So.
And I think that's lovely that you obviously get on so well, because, you know, I interview quite a few businesses that are family based, and they always say that sometimes there can be a little bit of a tension, but one tends to go one way for a while and one tends to go the other.
I mean, you know, living, working all together, you know, obviously does present challenges, but you know, we've been a tight unit. We've been a tight unit for, you know, over 25 years, me and my wife, and it's something that we enjoy doing, and we get the biggest, you know, sort of like enjoyment by seeing guests enjoy staying with us, and leaving good reviews on, you know, on TripAdvisor or wherever or, you know, on our own website, or, you know, we get lots of cards and thank yous for the stay. So it's that we get, you know, get us over the challenging time.
I mean, I think as well, that's the other lovely thing, is just actually seeing some of your reviews and seeing just how much people come back. The repeat guests, they're almost, some of them I think must be again a bit like family now themselves.
They do. We have people that will come and spend 2 or 3 days with us, and they'll come 4 or 5 times a year, which is nice. When we get the guests that come annually and have their week's holiday with us, but it's also important that as well we also attract new guests moving forward as well. So, and that's the importance of diversifying, continuing to offer the service. And in fact, only last week we for the 5th year running now, we've just been awarded our Traveller's Choice Award via TripAdvisor.
Well done, you.
Which actually ranks us in the top 10% of hotels in the world based on traveller reviews. So yeah, again, you know, it's important for us to keep that standard up and to keep people happy. And
you know, you can't do any much better than that, because when you get honest reviews from people, you know, I know that you can't always please everybody in life, you know, they'll always get somebody who'll find some TV channels not working and find that to moan about, but you know, I think when you've got a good business like you have and you've got them reviews, that must keep you going and get you up in the morning.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and we always, you're always going to get instances or challenges with guests, and some of that sometimes is completely out of your control. They could have had a bad journey down for 4 hours, been stuck in traffic, and you're the first person that they see. But one of our things we work hard with the team is when every guest checks in, we will sit them down, we'll make them a cup of tea, we'll get to understand why they're on holiday and what they're looking to do, so we can give them guidance. And that first 10 or 15 minutes is really vitally important, because it also means that the guests get to know a little bit about us and know the hotel, and that makes us more approachable. So during their stay, if, for example, there is something they need or they want or something's not right, they feel the need to talk to us and let us know, so we can then understand that situation and help them along the way, rather than them just checking in, give them a card, never see them again until they checked out, and then we get a review, which is something we could have dealt with at the same time.
Exactly.
So it's all about hospitality, communicating and speaking to the guests. Really.
And that's a talent in itself. Now, I'll tell you another talent and another thing that I saw in the reviews that people love, and is right up my street because I'm all about food.
Yes.
And it is your food and how you use a lot of locally sourced ingredients. That just sings and speaks volumes to me.
I mean, St Agnes is a wonderful village to come and visit. We're very fortunate. It's a traditional village, and with that, we've got local butcher, local fishmonger. Literally, our fish we get from 500 yards down the road, all caught fresh. We have vegetable shops within the village, so we are fortunate to be in an area where we can buy all that local produce, but at the same time we support our local businesses by doing that. We have a very talented chef who then obviously dreams up the dishes and puts them in front of guests, and yes, they seem to be enjoying. We are not a Michelin star restaurant by any means, but we are a really good quality, high quality, locally sourced food, and we serve an a la carte menu each evening for that.
I was going to say, and that is absolutely joyful that you do that, because there's so many places that I just do the ping microwave, which is my hate product, being a foodie. And I just love that the menu, I don't know, it seems to work in seasons. Is that something that he is really sort of mindful of?
Yeah, we try and have a menu that changes sort of like 3-4 times a year based on the seasons, but obviously that's all based on our local produce that's available. Certain things are available in the springtime that aren't available later on in the year. So, so working with the local suppliers and working with the chef, we hopefully do design a seasonal menu that the guests seem to enjoy.
I mean, that's the whole thing as well. Even though you are a hotel and you are appealing to the outside tourist, it seems to me as well that there's a real community spirit.
Yes, I mean, St Agnes has a wealth of things that go on, from bolster festivals to we still have the annual carnival in August, to arts, painting, just walking. We work with a lot of walking groups, and also small groups that do like things like horse riding and things like that, where they'll use us as a base. People will stay with us for that sort of like the week that they're doing that, and then they'll go off and do their activities. So, yet again, in terms of what we offer, we work with local organisations as well to obviously offer them support as well with accommodation.
Which makes sense, really, because, it's like, although I know a little bit about Cornwall and the area itself, you want to experience what the locals experience sometimes, and what really goes on in that location. It's nice to travel about yourself, but it's nice to have that experience, isn't it?
It is. And as I said, with St Agnes is a 365 village. When I mean that, there's always something going on 365 days of the year, which is nice, whereas a lot of Cornish destinations or destinations throughout the UK can be very seasonal, and things come October, November seem to shut up, and then it's more of a ghost town. St Agnes isn't like that. Whether you're coming to stay in a shepherd hut in May, there's things doing, and if you're coming in January, there's still things doing, from trail running, events to walking to just sightseeing to activities that go on as well. So,
and also you put on special occasions at your hotel as well, don't you?
We do, yeah. We do a number of events. So, for example, we work with a local murder mystery company. So we do murder mystery evenings, which are really popular. Yet again, they're not large. They're more personal. So we have sort of like 26 to 28 guests every murder mystery. We have usually a couple of those each year. And already one that we're running for December is already nearly sold out. So
wow.
We get yet again a lot of repeat guests that like to come and do those sort of things. We do events, so we'll do sort of wedding receptions, we'll do birthday parties. We're a perfect location as a hotel for people, for small groups that want to take over the hotel and have a sort of a large family gathering. So we can offer them exclusive use of the hotel for a weekend or 2 or 3 days, and they then can sort of like have parties, can have dinners, can have functions with all of their close family. We also work with a load of groups, so we do things with charities as well. My wife is very heavily involved in a charity called Street Vet. My wife's a veterinary nurse as well, and so she deals with homeless animals and homeless people, and so things like the charities will come up and we'll support them and give them help as well in terms of organising events and things.
Escape to the Beacon Country House Hotel, where coastal views meet countryside comfort. Discover our stylish rooms and breathtaking panoramas. Unwind in our unique shepherd's huts, a hidden gem of tranquility. Indulge in delicious dining, soak in stunning landscapes, and create memories that will last a lifetime. Discover your perfect retreat at beaconhotel.co.uk, where every moment becomes an unforgettable experience.
One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, and I think it's a big thing now, is environmental impact. I mean, you can't get away from it,
No. No.
Whether you want to or not, there is an environmental impact. How does your hotel navigate around that?
Well, I mean, it's we're always looking at ways of protecting the environment, working what we can do. So things like heavy recycling that we do. And one of the things we do with food, one of the big things in hospitality is food wastage.
Yeah.
We work very hard with it because it's all cooked fresh on the day. Because it's all locally sourced, our food wastage is minimal. In fact, we don't really have much food wastage at all. Actually, anything that's left usually gets eaten anyway. But there is so working with our guests, working with our chef and our menu, we control all of our food wastage. A lot of our rooms are environmentally friendly, so we work with that in terms of shampoos. Soaps, all of those, plastics is a control. And then we also work with, it's not the most exciting topic, but we work with our waste collector. We actually use a waste collector that has zero to landfill. So every bit of our waste we know will not go into landfill. So yet again, that's something that we work with and work with them to make sure that we minimise our environmental impact.
And I think that's important because there is quite a lot of people now who are eco-tourists and they're demanding that.
Yes.
So actually what your hotel's doing is you are getting ahead of the curve in a lot of respects.
We work as hard as we can with the changing environment that we're faced with, so yes.
I mean, you started, is it in 2019 you took over the hotel?
Yeah.
And those were tricky times in the following months ahead with COVID. How did you navigate and cope with it? And what sort of lessons it taught you should anything ever happen like that again, heaven forbid, in the future?
Yes, I mean, COVID once was a challenging time for everybody. I think that the challenge for our hospitality industry, we purchased a hotel in May 2019, and March 2020 we were shut down straight away, and for the next 24 months we were actually only open for 9 months of those 24 with the government restrictions. But I think the biggest challenge was just understanding the requirements, understanding how we could still give guests the experience that they want. And once we had our head around understanding how the guests would arrive and making them feel secure, because that's what it was all about. It wasn't really
safety.
It wasn't really us as a hotel feeling scared, or our staff. We put procedures in place with that. It was about making sure that when the guests arrived, they felt that they were in an environment that, whilst they could still enjoy their holiday, but have the safety precautions around it, without it being so restrictive that they couldn't actually enjoy the time they were down. And we worked well with our guests. We did different sitting times, because our restaurant, normally our restaurant, sort of like would seat up to sort of like 20, 24, 25 people, with spacing requirements they needed. So we did 2 sittings. We did, we worked quite hard to make sure that, the guests still got the nice experience. But it was long. It was hard for the staff. Obviously, lots more cleaning, But things that you learn from that is that you shouldn't really panic. You need to adapt. You need to be flexible. You need to adapt to the environment you're in. And we've learned lessons from it. Some of our, it's really helped us with our food wastage and our control, because we
being careful.
It means what we can do, all those sort of things.
I mean, the thing is when you are in hospitality, you can't help but have a heart for other people in that industry, whether it be in restaurants, hotels, whatever. And sadly, some of them have now shut down, and some of them are still struggling. Do you think the government could actually now just really try and put a bit of injection into the whole hospitality industry and help it out a bit?
Yes, I think the hospitality industry is tough at the moment. There are lots of costs that are involved that people never really see. This year, obviously, the government have increased all of the wage costs, and all of the, food's gone up. Energy has gone up. So one of our challenges, our electricity bill, in sort of like 23, sort of tripled, but guests still expect to come in, turn the light on, and the light still works. They're not getting any added value from their from their break, but our costs obviously are magnified. I think the government could help. One of the big challenges for us is things like VAT. They helped us out in a big way during COVID times, and reduced VAT from 20% to 5%. And I think that there's a big call in the hospitality industry for reduced VAT, and that's not because of we want something special. It's because actually, if you look at most of Europe and most of other places, VAT on holiday stays and hospitality is at a lot lower rates. So there are things that we believe the government can do to help us continue to survive in the industry.
And I don't think they appreciated at the time just how tough it was, and then you have to have those period of months and that to get back on your feet again. Exactly. And it's all of a sudden tonight, put your VAT back up again. I think it was a little bit cruel, if you want my honest opinion.
Well, it's the same with many businesses. They offered things like bounce back loans and all those sort of government help and assistance during that time. Now those obviously helped businesses at that time to get through, but now all businesses are left with having to still repay all of those loans now, when we would say things are back to normal, but I don't know what normal is now in the hospitality industry. I don't think there is a normal now.
No, because I was speaking to someone the other day who's got a restaurant, and they are really struggling to find a good chef because the chefs have gone.
Yes.
The chefs actually diversified into something else because they couldn't get a wage.
Yes. Oh, exactly. It's, and then it creates an environment where, obviously with a reduction of staff, though, the ones that are there obviously demand quite a higher revenue stream. So yet again, that pushes your costs up. So food, we want to offer good value food at the hotel and obviously quality food, but there also comes a price point where people just won't pay an element for food, and so you have that fine balance between offering sort of like high quality food, but also at the same time at a price that people are willing to pay. And people do face now, there's challenges on their own income at the moment. People are watching every penny that they spend at the moment,
and they want a better value for for every penny, aren't they?
They do. And that's not to say that we don't provide that. We will provide that, but there does come a price point where guests look at it and would rather only maybe have one course rather than 2 or 3. So that's what we notice with guests, and that's in the hospitality industry. We speak to many pubs and people within a village, and we find that people will go, and rather than having a 3-course meal and a bottle of wine, they'll go and now just have 1 course and a glass of wine.
I'm so sorry to say, Nigel, but I'm a 3-course girl, and I am not missing out on pudding. End of story.
That's it. Oh, lovely. Well, we do a nice selection of puddings.
I've seen. It wouldn't take me much tempting. And also as well, you touched on it earlier about those fantastic views and places that you can go. I mean, you really do have some stunning beaches and things to burn off those calories once you put them on.
We do. We're very fortunate. I mean, situated right on St Agnes Beacon, within sort of 2 minutes, you can be at the top of the beacon with some wonderful views, looking out across the north coast to Portreath, to Godrevy, St Ives, and over the other way to Perranporth and Newquay. We have Wilcoats, which is a sort of a famous engine house from one of the mining eras, which was also included with St Agnes Head in Poldark, the film series.
Ah, yes.
So we get a lot of people that want to come down, a lot of Dutch and German guests come over, and they enjoy the North Coast scenery. And so, so fortunate. Perranporth Beach, which is only sort of like a couple of miles away, has got 2 miles of glorious sandy beaches. And the North Coast offers a beautiful, rugged coastline.
Yeah.
It's very picturesque. At the moment, all the pink blossoms are out on the coastline. Oh. It's wonderful to walk along and have a view.
I think that's what's lovely as well. You talked about events, and I can just imagine that with your gardener and his team doing a fantastic job and all those views. I mean, it is a bit of an Instagram sort of world we live in at the moment with the photography and everything. And you've really got it all, haven't you, Nigel?
We're very fortunate. There's lots of beautiful photographic opportunities. But realistically, it's lovely for people to. We just want them to come and see it and actually enjoy it themselves.
But they don't want to leave half the time, do they?
No, they don't. Once we welcome them and they come and they settle in, we get many guests that so the time flies by, and before they know it, they're off on their travels back home. But hopefully they come back again.
But obviously you've done so much to the business in the short time that you've really had it in those few years, and I know time flies. But have you got any sort of other plans for the future? Have you got anything else that you're whirring away that you think, I'd like to do?
Well, the business is constantly developing. When we first moved in, we didn't have a self-catering apartment. We didn't have anywhere as a family to live. So we also built on the ground somewhere as a family to actually live, rather than living in a small hotel room. The shepherd huts are new. They're the sort of the focus really at the moment. But it's really the service offering that we just have to continue to develop. Yeah. The bedrooms always need updating. I mean, we have a big pride on our hotel. They're kept up to modern standards. We paint them, we decorate them in on the off season. The hotel, when it opens every year, we need to keep it up to the high standard we do. But it's really, I think we're done now in terms of infrastructure.
Yeah.
But it's realistically now just working on the service offering and sort of expectations of our guests moving forward.
And did you always work in hospitality? What did you used to do maybe before?
No. Well, I mean, we have a history with a hotel because my parents in the sort of late 80s owned the hotel.
Really?
They owned it for 6 years. So I spent sort of 5-6 years as a teenager growing up in the hotel environment. But I met my wife in Cornwall, and we moved to South Wales, and we lived for 25 years in South Wales. My parents sold the hotel back in the early 90s, and I spent 25 years working in recruitment. So whilst not hospitality, in terms of recruitment, you are always dealing and speaking to people. And so hospitality really is just an extension of that. And so 6 years ago, we were looking for something to do, and the hotel was popped up onto the market, and I suppose there was an emotional tie. And
I was just about to say
of some sort of like many years ago of family owning it. And and so we made the decision, purchased it, and moved down, and had no experience of running a hotel.
No.
But having stayed in many hotels before, you get to know what you like and what you enjoy. And what makes for us a stay enjoyable when we go and stay in other hotels.
Yeah, that's true.
And so we try to then imprint what we knew and what we wanted just onto our own establishment, and yeah, hopefully we're doing it.
Well, we do get lots of budding entrepreneurs watching these episodes, and if anybody's watching and they think they would love to be a hotelier one day, they would love their own little piece of hospitality, what would be their best piece of advice you could give them?
Just understand that it's hard work, like with anything you do in life. If you want to achieve something, you've got to put the effort in, but at the same time, you've just got to be flexible. And I think that's the key to any business, whether you're running a hotel or a cafe, a shop, anything like that. You have to be flexible enough and understand the market trends, understand what people want. But ultimately, in our hospitality game, it's about don't forget the guests. The guests are the number one priority, because they're the ones that are going to come back time and time again if you look after them correctly. And I think in the hospitality industry, especially after COVID, which was very much very much distanced people, I would say to people, you need to re-engage with guests again and re-engage with people that stay with you.
I watch that Hotel Inspector, and sometimes you don't see the passion. It's gone far away. It's out of their eyes. Yeah. And I think, again, they don't listen to sometimes some of the guest experiences. Yeah. And even if it means learning something,
yes.
I don't think never be afraid to learn.
No,
eh?
and we don't, even though we don't stay in the hotel rooms. We don't, we're not there regularly enough. So, you do have to listen to your guests, because they're the ones that are staying in the rooms. They're staying in the shepherd huts. They're staying on your property. And so they will provide you feedback, and it's important to get that feedback, whether it be good or bad. In fact, sometimes the bad can really help you, because it highlights things that you can then fix.
Exactly. Well, Nigel, I'll tell you something. I'll be coming for some of Alice's fudge. I'll be wanting to go for a trail run, and I'll be wanting to stop in a shepherd's hut. And I certainly know where I'm going to come, and that's to you. Thank you so much for travelling all the way to see us today. The insight's been fantastic, and the information that you're giving people is absolutely brilliant. And if you want to find out more details, all the details of Beacon Houses below, right there. Go and check them out. Next time you're in Cornwall, go and visit them. You will not be disappointed. Thank you very much, Nigel.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.